Hi there. Today is Saturday, the 12th of July, 2025. I am rumored to be John Anthony Francis Wilcox, here for your entertainment. Um, I hope you've all had a good week. Stuff has gone on since we last spoke. All sorts of things. So, where do I begin? With an odd one. I was talking during the week with my friend Joyce, and she was saying that someone recommended her as a scary thing an episode of Alfred Hitchcock's TV shows. He did some hour-long ones and some half-hour. There's a half-hour one called The Glass Eye, which I'd never heard of. And she said she hadn't seen it, but she heard it was pretty creepy. Well, it was either the next night or the night after that, late at night on MeTV, there was that episode. So, of course, I had to watch it. It was narrated by William Shatner, who's kind of the framer of the episode. And the star was a young, lovely Jessica Tandy. And the story was about her feeling very lonely and unloved and unwanted. And then one day she goes to see a show of this ventriloquist act. The great, I think it was Carlo Collodi. And she becomes infatuated with this guy and falls in love with him even though they've never met. And she's been writing him letters, and then he starts writing back and he suggests maybe they should meet. And and they do, and it is indeed pretty darn creepy. Ugh. So it was an excellent episode, I have to say. And Shatner did a great job framing it. He's telling the story. Evidently, Jessica Tandy is, I believe, his sister, and he's telling the tale of what happened to her and showing her this relic of a glass eye. And it's an important aspect of the story. So, isn't that funny? Someone brings it up, and then there it is. And you know what? If she hadn't have mentioned it, I might not have watched it because that night I was feeling kind of tired, and that was the second one. They show them from 105 to 205, and it was the 1:35 in the morning one. And I'm usually up late, and like last night I was up till I don't know 3:30, something like that. But if you see it come around, that's why I haven't given away anything. Do look for, you can maybe find it on YouTube or something, The Glass Eye, episode of Alfred Hitchcock. Beyond that, so I'm gearing up. As you know, a couple weeks ago I went to Renaissance Fair. This coming Friday, I'm going to Kineticon once again with my friend Pete, which is my favorite convention to go to. So looking forward to that. And I don't know for sure yet, but my friend Suzanne mentioned that she might want to drive all the way here from Indiana to go see that same convention on the Saturday. If she does, I'll be happy to go with her. I'm passed in for the whole weekend. So, so that'll be interesting. I'll let you know. I'm sure I'll talk about it uh, next week. And speaking of the Ren Fair, I was very pleased. I got I had written up a review of it with a lot of pictures and stuff and promoting the subsequent weekends, of which this is the last weekend of it. And I heard from my dear friend Marcy, who works there, and she said that the workers at the fair and that saw the review, they loved the review, and had been talking about it in a positive way. And I'm very thankful to hear that because I try to help. That's part of what I do when I write about that stuff. I'm trying to promote the event. So, um, very nice. Today, I got in, came out yesterday, a new Steve Hackett set, a live set from the Royal Albert Hall. It's two CDs and a Blu-ray, and the CDs are the music, the live whole concert split into two CDs of everything that's on the Blu-ray, including a really cool and interesting interview, very really revealing with Steve. And speaking of Steve and Genesis, there's a guy who calls himself Rael, Rael, that does a lot of documentaries on progressive bands. And this week he had done one on the Genesis album Foxtrot. That was fascinating and insightful, and there were some things I didn't know. I didn't know that Steve Hackett wrote the lyrics to Can Utility and the Coastliners. Who knew? Uh, Very cool. And how it got its name. So very interesting. I would recommend seeking that out if you like the Peter Gabriel era of Genesis as I do, and you are as fond of the Foxtrot album as I am. So, worth your time. On a very minor note, I had a delicious bowl of chicken and stars soup today. Made me feel good. Soup. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, my friend Dawn, and she mentioned that she's not a big soup person. I suppose people aren't, or they are. I've always liked soup, but I think as I get older, as cliche as it sounds, I do enjoy myself a good soup. So, and then I had a sad call today. I was talking. I have a friend Pam who lives in um, Kansas, and she was telling me she's been living for months now in a homeless shelter with her son. But the thing that I found odd is she said that the two of them together earn about just under $3,000 a month. And it's like, wow, I wouldn't even imagine to know what to do with $3,000 a month. I live on under $1,000 a month. Dollars. Sad as that is, I need a time machine. Or I need to be, I saw something where, like, if I had my current income and I lived somewhere in, like, I don't know, Afghanistan or something like that on the poor end of the Middle East, you could live very well. But I don't live there. So, and I don't want to. I'm perfectly, I love living in Connecticut, in case I've never mentioned that. So, very sad that that's her situation. She said the problem is that, and there's things that are unheard of for me, that there, the application fee to move into something is like $200, which is ridiculous. And they need you to show that you're able to have 3 times the rent, so they need $3,000, and they're shy of that a month. So what's going on there in Kansas? Who knew? Um, so it was very sad. I've known Pam since I think 2000, so 25 years. We met through a mutual friend online I met her, friend Christy, who neither of us hears from anymore. It's funny how that works. So, and I'm sorry if I'm officially rambling. A neat thing is I was going through some like plastic storage boxes, little ones I have CDs in, and came across a Ziploc bag, and it was full of little papers, note papers, uh, that my mom wrote. Store lists, phone numbers, lotto numbers, prayers, stuff like that. It made me feel feel very nice, to see that stuff. One even had a couple of little pictures Mom drew from what you could still see. My mom was quite an artist. She was very good. But it made me glad I did that because I was very sad when my mom died because my sister Mary, for whatever reason, was like adamant of getting rid of everything Mom owned. I don't know why. And I feel sad about that. I really should have put my foot down more, and so should Dad have. But at least I have that. I have a few other things here and there. But I suppose I've been thinking about it because I think about the things that I have and what's going to happen when I'm gone. I mean, I know you'll say I'm too busy, I'll be too busy being dead, and that's true. But there are some things that are precious, certainly to me. I have old correspondence with cartoonists and authors. I have a bunch of letters from one of the great science fiction authors, Philip Jose Farmer. We corresponded because we both loved Doc Savage pulp novels. In fact, he wrote a book about him, a great book called Doc Savage: His Apocalyptic Life. So I have things like that, and again, like cartoons like Steve Ditko and others, and I have those in a box downstairs. And I'd hate to think they just get tossed in the garbage. Um, I don't know. I was talking. It's funny because talking about moving. I was talking about that last week with my nephew Davey, and I mentioned how much stuff I lost. Like I lost all my albums, and I lost a bunch of books and bunches of comic books, including the Treasury editions. I lost all of that because people weren't too helpful with me moving. And he's like, oh, maybe it's like people that knocked down the house probably took a lot of that stuff and either kept it or sold it. And I was thinking, I hope so. I hope they did. I hope that that stuff got to be enjoyed by someone else and wasn't just trash or burnt or what have you. Um, because I'd hate to think about that, about stuff being gone. I mean, like of a piece of artwork. I remember I was shocked. I was talking with my friend Catherine, and she was talking about this guy she knew who used to collect all sorts of stuff, and who has since died, and all of it got burnt. She said he even had like some comic book artwork and things like that, and it's been burnt and destroyed, and no other generation will ever see that, and it's so sad. I'm going to show you one thing very interesting. Speaking of preserving the past, here is from what year is this? Pardon my blindness. 1939. Here is a Flash Gordon by Alex Raymond with a Jungle Jim topper from the Tulsa World, Sunday Tulsa World newspaper from then, Sunday paper. That I didn't mount this like this. It was given to me, and things like this, to me, are what preservation's all about. I can see the quality of the metal plates that printed, the depth of the color that they don't have nowadays in most comic strips. This is a piece of history, and I'm glad that I am the current, I'll say, curator of it. And I have a few of these, and I also have some old like other strips from newspapers that I bought over the years of like humorous stuff, and going all the way back, I have a Felix the Cat Sunday from like 1908, something like that. Fascinating, great stuff. I love this stuff because I love art. Um, and I'm officially rambling, but that's okay. I'm sharing. So beyond that, not much to tell. Although I guess that was a bunch to tell. So Hope you're all well. I love you. Bye bye.